Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 3rd of February, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So, just a quick announcement here. I kind of announced this in the Discord channel yesterday, but there'll be a text-based AMO with the CEO and one or two tax lawyers from CryptoTaxCalculator happening in the Daily Gwei Discord channel today, basically. So 3rd of Feb, 4 p.m. PST, 1 a.m. GMT, Friday, the 4th of Feb, and 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, Friday, the 4th of Feb as well. So you can convert that to your time zone there. The announcement's in the announcement channel in the Discord channel. So if you're interested in asking anything, about tax, you can put your questions in there now if you're not going to be online at that time. But you can basically go in there, get your questions answered, and essentially, I guess, learn more about your tax position. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be tax advice or anything like that, but it's just a way for them, for you guys to get your questions answered. So very much looking forward to this. Definitely hop into the Discord channel and check this out if you're around at that time. All right, so the biggest piece of news over the last 24 hours, which is probably going to take up most of today's episode because there wasn't actually that much other news today, but I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, the Wormhole exploit. So the Solana Wormhole bridge was a bridge primarily between Ethereum Layer 1 and Solana Layer 1. It had a lot of ETH in it. It had been used for quite a while now, and today it got exploited for about 120,000 ETH, or over $300 million worth of ETH. Now, this was stolen directly from the contract here through a sophisticated exploit, which was detailed by a bunch of security researchers. Pretty sure Samczun's thread here details it if you want to check out everything. It'll be linked in this thread, which I'll link in the YouTube description, of course. But how good's the timing here on this? Basically, I've been talking about bridges a lot lately. I've been talking about the risks involved with these bridges a lot lately. Vitalik had a post a few weeks ago around the dangers of bridges and cross-chain and all that sort of stuff there. Now, I do want to say that this isn't your typical kind of bridge exploit. This was a smart contract exploit. It wasn't an economic exploit or an exploit of the validators or a DOS attack or anything on the actual bridge infrastructure, but because the Wormhole bridge was just a simple smart contract. But I think the point of me warning you guys about bridges wasn't so much about the attacks against bridges themselves, but the fact that these bridges are massive honeypots for attackers, and then they also have downstream effects. So I'll go over the honeypot thing first. So these bridges, they have billions of dollars in them, right? They are some of the biggest and kind of most widely used smart contracts these days because of the fact that everyone wants to bridge in and out of places. And it's just a kind of basically it's a thing of you lock your asset on Ethereum if you're bridging away from Ethereum, and you get minted these IOUs on another chain, as I've talked about before. Now, because of that, the assets just sit there in the smart contract as a massive honeypot, and these bridge contracts aren't very battle tested. They haven't been around for very long. It's not like some of the top DeFi contracts like Maker and Uniswap that have been around for a while. These things are relatively new. Now, the second part here is the downstream effects of what happens when there's an exploit in a bridge. As I've discussed with you guys before plenty of times, the assets that you're issued on another chain, so for example, if you bridge ETH from Ethereum to Solana, you are not issued real ETH on Solana because Solana doesn't have real ETH to issue you. Solana issues you an IOU that basically says, well, if you want to go back to Ethereum, you have to bring this IOU. The smart contract will unlock your funds on Ethereum and give you your ETH back. Now, what happened with the exploit is that all the ETH was drained, which meant that all of the ETH on Solana was worth zero. There was nothing backing it. It was logically worth nothing, right? No one would buy it because you can't get real ETH for it. Now, because of this, it has a lot of downstream effects on the rest of the ecosystem in Solana, specifically the DeFi ecosystem. I haven't seen any breakdowns of anything kind of like that happened, but what could have happened would be errant liquidations, right? If the ETH backing the loans is worth zero, then these people are going to get liquidated. Their positions are going to go to zero. ETH in AMMs, right? Paired with other assets, there's going to be a lot of volatility going on there. There's going to be people swapping assets in and out. There's going to be, it's going to be a very big mess, obviously. But the thing is with the Wormhole exploit is that there's a bunch of kind of rich benefactors, I think Jump Capital and a few other people that have said that they're going to actually make up for this hack and actually add the funds back to the Wormhole bridge here, which is I mean, the fact that they have that much money to do that in the first place is a pretty big deal. But also, I think it sets a bit of a bad precedent because this is a rare occurrence. This is not going to happen for most of these bridge exploits or just exploits in general, and especially the big ones. Like, what happens when there's a bridge exploit of $1 billion and it doesn't get returned? I know there was one recently, I think a few months ago, for $800 million, but the funds were returned. What happens when it's $1 billion exploit and the funds aren't returned? And there's no benefactors out there to make up the shortfall. That's $1 billion of user capital gone, like just gone. Someone else has it. That someone may not be able to ever cash it out, but they may use it on chain still. And they may wash it through Tornado Cash slowly. They may, do other ways to kind of like get those funds washed and hidden. But if you are holding the IOU on another chain, then your asset is now worth nothing. It's pretty bad, right? And this is the major reason why I haven't used any of these bridges. I've used the layer 2 bridges, which, mind you, it can still happen to these layer 2 bridges, but they're a lot simpler. They're a lot easier to reason about, and I just feel more comfortable using them. They do have centralized controls in place, but from a kind of security perspective, I feel more comfortable using the layer 2 bridges. But even then, you guys know that most of my ETH is in ETH2 staking. I'm comfortable doing that. Even though I can earn more on my ETH in other places, I always take these things into account, these risks into account. That's why I always tell you guys to take it into account as well. Because the thing about security is that everything can seem fine for like a relatively long time, maybe even years. And then all it takes is that one event to happen for you to lose everything, right? It's kind of like the turkey fallacy, where the turkey believes that life is awesome because it's getting fed, it's getting fed, it's growing, it's having an awesome life. And then one day its head gets chopped off and it gets served for dinner, right? That's what happens, right? You could for like 2 years, you could be in these kind of contracts. You could be feeling very safe. You could be like, yeah, this is awesome, this is fine. It's been 2 years, nothing bad's going to happen. And then one day you wake up and all your funds are gone. Now I know that's a scary proposition, but this is reality, guys. You have to actually take this into account when playing around with this sort of stuff, especially with large sums of money, especially with large sums of your portfolio. So that's why, like for me personally, I have most of my portfolio in staking because I'm and not with Rocket Pool or anything like that or other service providers, with just like vanilla staking. Not to say that I think Rocket Pool's insecure or anything, but like there's still added risk on top of just vanilla staking if you do that. If you use another service, you have centralization risk. There's just always risks involved here. So that's why I'm always harping on about this. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I don't want you guys to lose any money. Like, I don't want you guys to lose most of your portfolio if you've got like maybe you're starting off small. You got like a few $1,000s. You're like, okay, I'm going to be a bridger. I'm going to go bridge to all these different chains, and then you lose the money to an exploit. Maybe it's in the bridge. Maybe it's on one of these kind of like forks on another chain, and that's all your portfolio gone. And then you just lose interest in crypto. That's the worst thing that could happen, right? So I think that it's always worth bringing up these sorts of things, and there's not always going to be someone there to make you whole. Like right now, I guess like with Wormhole, it made sense because it's actually a big part of the Solana ecosystem, and Solana ecosystem will take a pretty big hit from this. And I think Wormhole's raising a round right now as well, at a pretty high valuation. So it definitely makes sense, but I'm sure these guys didn't want to have to do this either. So I think from that perspective, as I said, it sets a bad precedent, but they're going to do what they're going to do. And as I said before, I think there were a lot of bad takes today about this where people said, this is why we don't use bridges. This is why we don't believe in cross-chain. This is why this is, the multi-chain future is actually just ETH and L2s. That wasn't the right take. As I said, this could happen to an L2 because the bridge contract could have an exploit in it, could have a bug in it. Yes, it may be simpler and easier to reason about, and it may be less of a risk, but it's still there. The risk still exists. The same thing could happen. And it doesn't matter that your funds are validated by Ethereum. The smart contract having a bug is on Ethereum. It'd be the same as a DeFi smart contract having a bug, just like a bridge one having a bug. It'd be the same result in the end. Your funds would be lost. Doesn't matter what's verifying it. Now, where things get even more complex is these other bridge constructions that are trying to do different things, like have their own validator set, like Thorchain, for example, has like for cross-chain swaps, and then even cross-chain swaps have economic exploits with liquidity. Then there's different tokens and stuff that can be exploited. There's so much risk, and a lot of this is actually obfuscated from people. No one tells you the risk. I mean, when Wormhole was announced, there was a post saying that it was like super trustless and trust minimized and secure, and it's like, well, I mean, when it first came out, you shouldn't even be claiming that. Like you should be saying this is probably not secure. This may not be secure because this is new. Please be aware of the risks. There's these controls in place. This and this could happen. Something like what L2 Beat does for all the L2s, right? Where they have like a full breakdown. But there are some ecosystems out there that just don't care about this. I mean, I responded to one of Carl Samani's tweets from a few weeks ago, who he's big in the Solana ecosystem, where he basically said he values speed over security. And then I hit back today and I said, do you still value speed over security? And he said, yes. And I'm like, well, that's just wrong. Like I'm pretty disgusted by that reply, because what's the use of having speed if you don't have security and things just keep getting exploited and users keep getting hurt? That's why the Ethereum ecosystem moves slower. That's why L2s move slower. That's why a lot of the projects move slower, because it's much better to be secure than to kind of like get to market really quickly, and then your app gets exploited and no one wants to use it anymore, and people lose money and all that sorts of stuff. So for me, I always value security, and as a byproduct of security is decentralization over speed. And by speed, I mean like speed of shipping things, speed of kind of like getting things to market. When you're dealing with people's money, especially on a network where you can't reverse the transactions, this isn't like the TradFi system where they can reverse the transactions. You can't reverse stuff that happens here. When you're playing in that environment, in such an incredibly adversarial environment, you can't be speedy. You have to be secure first. That is the number one priority, I think, for every developer building anything in this ecosystem is security. Yes, you can be fast to ship, which is fine, but we've seen the perils of that, right? I mean, I remember back in DeFi summer, Andre was referred to as basically a god because he could ship so quickly, and there was a meme that he was testing in prod, which basically means he was testing his smart contracts on Ethereum mainnet and not a testnet. But then came the Eminence Finance debacle, which resulted in, I think, half the funds being lost or something like that. And then he went quiet for a little bit and resurged recently. He's been doing a bunch of stuff. And then again, in the Frog Nation kind of ecosystem, there was stuff that happened there as well. So just, I think valuing security over everything else is very prudent in the crypto environment, and I think it's something that everyone should be doing. And honestly, I am disgusted by people who double down on speed over security. Like, I really don't appreciate that. I don't respect people who have that opinion, and I really don't believe that it is opinion that that you guys should have either. So Ethereum may move slower, but there's a reason why Ethereum moves slower. It's because it's trying to be very secure. It's trying not to mess anything up. I mean, could you imagine if we rushed the merge and something went wrong? Like, seriously, guys, you can see what I mean here. Anyway, I'm ranting a little bit now, but I think it's just always good to kind of reflect on these things and reflect on, I guess, like why we care about decentralization, why we care about security, because these things happen. They happen all the time. This isn't something new. Exploits happen all the time, but we can minimize the risk of this by ensuring that we build great software, and the only way to do that is by taking our time. You cannot build great and secure software by going quickly. It's just they're incompatible things, because by going quickly you miss something. There's things you can, I mean, the DAO bug was actually, I believe, one line or something like that in the code that resulted in all those funds being exploited, and then the chain it's splitting off into Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and there being like a regular state transition to get the funds back. It was a mess, right? And these things happen because there's just not proper care given here. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave my rant at that. As I said, you can read this tweet from Samczun for a technical breakdown of exactly what happened here. I'll link it in the YouTube description. There was also one as well from Calvin Fichter. I don't have it on hand here. He had a really great one. It was pretty lengthy as well, so you can go give that a read as well. All right, so on to some more positive news today. I just saw this before, actually. It got lost in all the chaos. But Peter from the Geth team put out a tweet where he said, although not really visible from the outside, the Go Ethereum or Geth codebase is one major pull request away from being ready for the merge. And that pull request itself is also done. Just needs tests TM. So close, guys. Like, I mean, holy crap. I can't stress to you guys how close the merge actually is at this point. I know June, if it goes ahead in June, I know June may seem a little bit far away still because we're only in February, but I mean, we're in February already. Like, where did January go? Like, you know what I mean? I mean, where did Christmas go? Where did the holiday period go? It's already over. Before you know it, we're going to be merged. We're going to be on a full proof of stake Ethereum network, and I'm not going to have to keep telling you guys, updates about the merge anymore. We can get back to going about giving you updates on things like Shanghai with all those new AIPs coming in, working on sharding, working on these things that users are actually going to get massive benefits out of, especially at the layer 2 side. So that's actually one of the reasons why I'm most excited about the merge, not only because we're finally going to be a proof of stake network, it's just getting it out of the way, right? Because it's something that kind of like is critical, needs to be done, but it is something that's holding up everything else. And obviously people are excited about all these other things coming to the network, and especially other things that are user facing. I mean, just EIP 4488, making core data cost less and giving more 5 times more scalability to rollups. That's a thing that's immediately felt by end users. We all feel that at layer 2. We will have cheaper fees immediately, just like when Arbitrum or Optimism reduced their fees. We all feel that. Whereas with the merge, realistically, the end users aren't feeling anything from this. I mean, to them, they're still going to be doing the same transactions. Blocks are going to be coming in slightly faster at 12 seconds versus 13 seconds. It's probably not going to be noticeable for most users. And the fees are still going to be the same. As I said to you guys, the merge, it does not lower gas fees. That's my pet peeve. But from an end user perspective, just a regular end user, nothing changes, right? But for the other upgrades, they do. And that's why we care about those other upgrades there. So yeah, really, really cool to see this from Peter. As I said to you guys, like, merge is coming along really nicely. I'll keep you guys updated with it. But I didn't even know about this, so I'm glad I saw this tweet just before. So Superphiz has pulled out a call to action around client diversity here, where he says ETH Staker is looking for a few folks to formally enumerate the scenarios that can happen at client distribution thresholds due to slashing, state transition bugs, liveness failures, and unknowns, analyzed from both the angle of network health and the loss of staker funds. As a token of appreciation, we'll offer grants ranging from 500 to 2,000 USDC, as well as an appreciation pop-up. But if you know what's going on, you're just going to do it because the success of Ethereum depends on your efforts. And there's a little bit of a thread here with some links. So if you're interested in doing this, definitely jump into the ETH Staker Discord. Kind of like check it out there. Get in contact with Superphiz maybe, and he can help you out with that. But yeah, I mean, I've been talking about client diversity a lot recently. As I said, there's lots happening on this front right now, especially in the background. I'm aware of a few different initiatives happening here. If you're a user on Prism, obviously you have if you have the ability to do so, changing to another client is what you should do. Actually, I just got my staking box set up today in my house. Now that I'm talking about staking in my new house, because I got internet now. Finally, like, I went back to my old place and I looked at it. It was still running, right? It's still going all well. I looked at it. I'm like, my baby, I can finally take you home. And then I just love watching it chug along. I just love watching my validators purr, and it's all well and good there. But anyway, that little tangent there. Just get in contact with the ETH Staker community or Superphiz if this sounds like something that you're interested in doing. It can have a big impact on the Ethereum staking community here. So Rainbow announced today that they have initial support for Polygon NFTs rolling out. So some of the most popular Polygon NFT collections will begin appearing in your wallets if you own them. These include things like Zrun, Showtime, Royale here, and 100 Thieves, which actually dropped today. So 100 Thieves is a massive kind of like gaming and entertainment kind of like initiative here. Absolutely huge. They got over 1 million followers. And they announced today that they're actually doing NFTs on Polygon called the 100 Thieves Companionship chain. So they're free to claim, not intended for resale. Same carbon impact they're sending to emails because they're on the Polygon POS chain, obviously. And they're actually I think they still said they're going to cover gas fees too, which is funny because like the gas fees are like negligible on Polygon, but it's cool that they're doing that. But yeah, that was kind of like something there. You guys may know about 100 Thieves. They've been around for a little while. Pretty big esports kind of like project as well, but I used to loosely follow this stuff when I was more of a gamer, but Rainbow is supporting this as well in their wallet. So if you haven't checked out Rainbow Wallet yet, I mean, I've talked about them a lot recently on the Refuel because they had their Android release last week, I believe. You should definitely check it out, whether you're on iOS or Android. It's a good wallet. I enjoy using it whenever I use mobile wallets, but as you guys know, I don't use mobile wallets too frequently. I'm desktop wallet maximalist basically because I'm on my computer all the time. Don't really get out much, especially during COVID. But anyway, definitely go check that out. So Dune Analytics has announced that they've raised $69,420 million in a Series B funding round led by Coter. This values Dune Analytics at $1 billion now, which is absolutely massive. I'm sure most of you know what Dune Analytics is at this point. I should actually disclaim here and say I'm a seed investor in Dune. They've been around for a while. I absolutely love them. I use it all the time, like pretty much every day. I don't build the dashboards myself, but I look at other people's dashboards. There's so many on there. So yeah, I guess congrats to them on this raise. It makes them a unicorn now, which is absolutely amazing. For those who don't know, a unicorn is a company that is worth $1 billion or more. There's There's obviously not like a lot of those in the world, so really awesome to kind of like see this. And I mean, it's just been awesome to see the Dune journey like as time has gone on. They've obviously grown a lot since their early days, but it's funny because I think when I invested in them in their seed round, I think it was early 2020, I believe. Early 2021, I believe. Yeah, early 2021. And then they've just come so far since then. Like in less than a year, they've just gone, Series B, massive Series B, $1 billion valuation, but also their platform and their app is being used by so many people. And, I think crypto analytics, data analytics, as I've said to you guys before, is a massive area. I mean, Nansen recently announced their fundraise as well, which valued them, I believe, at around the same. And then there's a bunch of other kind of like projects out there or kind of like tools out there that are working on getting data from blockchains. And because really blockchain, I mean, people used to say like data was the new oil, but I think that blockchain data is like worth even more than just normal data because you have financial data in there, right? There's a lot of insights you can gain from it. I mean, if you use these tools, you can actually gain a lot of trading insights too, and you can actually make money off this and even investment insights. So very, very useful tools, and there's plenty of dashboards. As I said to you guys, I look at these dashboards all the time. There's dashboards for pretty much every project out there. Anyone can create them. They're pretty simple to create. It just uses SQL. So if you know that, you know how to create a dashboard. Yeah, enough of me gushing over them. Yeah, as I said, I am a seed investor, so I'm pretty happy about this and then becoming a unicorn and everything like that. But great to see this. Congrats to them on that one. But yeah, I think I've got a fair bit of time left here. I think I have about like 7 or 8 minutes left here to talk about something. I talked about the bridges stuff a lot, and I think related to the bridge stuff, related to kind of like smart contract exploits and things like that, and related to what I spoke about, I think yesterday or the day before with regards to the markets, I think when looking for new opportunities in crypto to get involved, and I wrote about this in the newsletter the other day, but when looking for new opportunities to get involved, both financially and socially and professionally, there's just so much going on right now. I can kind of like give you a bit of decision paralysis, right? I know that there's a million things going on in the NFT ecosystem, so much innovation going on in DeFi. The core protocol has never been more active, if you want to work there. And there's just kind of like all types of roles around that as well. And the thing is that you don't have to be a developer at all. You can do business development, you can do marketing, you can do community, you can do design, you can do legal, whatever you want to do. There are positions everywhere for you. So, I mean, if you're kind of like stuck and don't know what you want to do, I think you just really need to figure out where you're spending most of your time. Just naturally kind of like see over like the last month, say, just look back and say, okay, where have I spent the most amount of time? Like what ecosystem have I spent the most amount of time in the last month? Let's say you spent most of it in the NFT ecosystem. Okay, did you enjoy it? Would it be something that would actually like to do professionally? Do you think that there's a lot of upside there for you, both professionally, like in your career, and also financially? Yes. Well, look at who's hiring, right? There's plenty of startups hiring. I mean, you can go work for Polygon Studios, which is Polygon's NFT arm. You can work for Immutable X. You can work for one of the other kind of like NFT projects out there. OpenSea, looks rare, is probably hiring. I haven't seen, but I'm assuming they are. There's so many different kind of like projects out there hiring in the NFT ecosystem. And you can go to the cryptocurrency jobs website as well and check out all the roles there. But that's what kind of like you should do. I think that's can help a lot with decision paralysis because sometimes you'll be sitting there and you'll be like, oh my God, there's so much happening. I love NFTs, I love DeFi, I love core protocol development. But the thing is that you can't do it all. Like you can be a generalist, that's fine. But a generalist, I mean, you can't like work for, I shouldn't say you can't. You can probably work for 2 or 3 projects depending like if you're part-time. But if you want to go like full-time and give a project your all, really, it's only going to be that project, right? And you're just going to be working for one. So if you're working for an NFT project, it's going to be hard for you to keep up with DeFi stuff and things like that. I mean, take it from me, it was very hard for me to keep up with stuff when I was working at Set. And that's one of the reasons why I stepped down from full-time work, because I felt I really needed to devote all my time to keeping up with Ethereum and kind of like doing education through the Daily Gwei, obviously, and ETHUB as well, of course, and everything else that I'm kind of like doing on the sidelines too. But like, I think you just got to pick something, stick to it, and if you end up not liking it, you can always change. As I said, there's so many kind of like roles going on right now, and people hop from team to team all the time, and there's no hard feelings here. Like, if you're not feeling it at a team, then you shouldn't be there at the begin with, because not only are you kind of like making yourself feel worse, but you're potentially bringing the rest of the team down as well, because of the fact that you may not fit there. And this happens, right? Like, you're not going to fit in every team that you join, whether it's a culture thing, whether it's a kind of like you're just bored by the work thing, whether it's you don't believe in the project anymore, more thing. There's plenty of that stuff going on as well there. So just a little bit of advice there on kind of like how to get involved. But like if you're maybe month to month, you're changing what you're most kind of like interested in. That might make it a little bit harder for you to choose something to kind of like stick to, but still, I would still try to like rack your brain and say, okay, what gets me excited? What gets me out of bed? What actually motivates me to do stuff? And outside of money, like I'm talking, take money out of the equation completely. Are you excited about what you're doing, even if you weren't getting paid for it? And if you are, that's a passion, and then you can chase that and kind of like get good insight from that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.